I feel like this trend of making mini compact versions of well-established full-size fixed blades and pocket knives needs to stop. We need to pump the brakes and slow our roll and really discuss a few things. Because more and more there seems to be the case that certain design characteristics that really work well on a full-size blade do not transfer well to a shrunk down version of that same design. And so what ends up happening is what in theory could be an excellent compact fixed blade, and don't get me wrong, I am not against compact fixed blades. I've actually been carrying them more and more recently. Some aspect just does not translate and it ends up completely falling short. And that is no exception with the blade we're gonna be looking at today, which is the ANV Knives M311 Compact. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another blade review here at Gideon's Tactical. I am Aaron, hanging out with you today. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're having a great day, and I hope this brings a little bit of joy and info to your life. Now, this Czech-made, made in the Czech Republic knife, the compact M311, and 311, no, not the band, is based off of this epic field knife, the full size, the original ANV Knives M311 Spelter, sorry. I always want to say Sleipner when I do that. Elmax steel. Oh, man, this is an epic field knife. Great blade shape, 5.5 inches from the handle to the tip. A high flat grind, massive handle. It's like an inch in girth right there. Full tank construction, excellent kydex sheath. I mean, this is a brute. 0.2 on the thickness of that stock, but great edge and lots of color palettes that you can go with, and an excellent steel. This is a great field blade. Field knife, tactical combat blade. This is very high class, and I've seen a lot of you really enjoy carrying this. So, I mean, ANV Knives goes, all right, well, let's make just a smaller version of that. Let's shrink it down by 13%, but by so doing, not only did they shrink it down by 13%, but they made it not as usable by 100%. So, and I'm going to explain why. Now, this is also made with that Elmax steel, cryo-treated. I believe Rockwell is 60. Now, Elmax was the Magna Cut of the 2010 era. Very good stainless steel, tougher than most, good edge retention, good wear resistance, and not a bear to resharpen. It's, you're definitely gonna have to take some time with it, but I've found that M390 is or CPM 20 CV is harder to sharpen. This can take an edge a little quicker, I've found, and it's obviously rust resistant because it is a stainless steel. Now, that blade being 4¼ inches overall length, they thinned down the stock to 0.15, keeping that same elegant blade shape and profile, just so well done, still giving it some good tip strength, nice piercing capability, removing the choil, because the full size didn't really need the choil, but it was very functional. So eliminating the choil and just shrinking it down. So in theory, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Lighten it up, slim it down, make it more EDCable, more carryable, more concealable. And the blade itself really performed. I mean, I wailed on it, used it a bunch to really get a feel for it. And the blade portion, I was like, yes, this is a great compact blade, great for field work and concealed carry scenarios where you want to put it under your clothing maybe, or just not take up as much real estate and weight on your LBE system. That has all those things going for it with a good stainless steel and good design. Then, and I guess I'll just hit this, great kydex sheath as well. Excellent, excellent kydex sheath. Really well done. Molly locks you into place, good thumb ramp, pancake design, ready to rock and roll, right? So, I mean, in theory, the idea is totally there, but the rear portion of the knife is where it really hits the skids. And before I unpack that with you, I do want to just say thanks to today's sponsor, which is Zoleo and their satellite communication device. And with hunting season upon us, this gives you the ultimate adventure duo. With Zoleo's seamless global messaging via the Iridium satellite network, progressive SOS alerting with 24/7 monitoring and response,
check-ins with an easy push of a button, as well as sharing your GPS location with any message sent.
And guys, that's just scratching the surface of the capabilities that ZOLEO offers you through this satellite communicator. So I'll have a link in the description below this video over to the ZOLEO website. And don't forget about my exclusive promo code, which will waive the $40 activation fee. So I invite you to hop on over, check it out, and get yourself connected to first responders as well as loved ones every time you go out on your adventures. So it begins with the micarta handle scales and these grooves. These grooves are quite aggressive. Now, this is not a bushcraft knife. This is definitely more of a combat utility knife. But the full-size version has larger grooves because of the larger handle. So they're more spaced, and for whatever reason, they're just not as abrasive, probably because of the spacing, and maybe these aren't quite as deep. So you definitely feel it, but it doesn't create a hot spot or like a tactile pain point if you're using bare hands and you're bearing down on it. Very doable with the full-size version. For whatever reason, these are just so much grippier, more tactile, and less comfortable with bare hands because they're tinier. The etching is closer together when you look at them, and it just causes a problem. And it's tactile. So I mean, with gloves, and if you're literally just like stabbing something, sure. But anything more than that, just gripping it and just trying to do some work with it, you're feeling it all over the place, and it's just not comfortable to use. And honestly, if I was going to keep the knife and use it regularly, I would immediately take some sandpaper and have to rub these down to bring down the traction. Now, if they had kept the same depth and width of the full size, it would have been totally fine. I would have had zero problem, but these are tighter. Now, the crown spine, not an issue. You know, again, jimping everywhere. For my preference, it's not needed, but for the idea of the knife, totally there. Now, my large size hands grip the knife, and I do have real estate out the back with that non-lethal glass breaker and or pommel / lanyard hole right there. Locks me in just a little bit of real estate. But really, the travesty is the neck. That's really where all the problems just are glaringly obvious. They thin down this neck so much more than on the original. Whoa, almost lost it there. There we go. You can just see how much thinner. Right around those bolts that neck is. It is actually like 0.55. So it is the same thickness right there at the neck as that Talwar that I just showed you from Cold Steel. So it's as thin right there as a pocket knife, even though it's like 0.8 at the maximum thickness here because of how aggressive it tapers. Now, if they just kept that thickness and barely tapered it or hardly even tapered it at all right there, it probably would have been doable. But because they shrunk this down and then they shrunk this down, that neck is super narrow in combination with the guard being more exposed for whatever reason than on the full size. You can see there how they didn't bring the handle scale down quite as much. And because it's so narrow there, what ends up happening with my finger is it just like digs into my index. And because of my finger basically is floating in there, it's rubbing all over the place, even though it is scalloped. So I mean, that's good. So it's not sharp, but it was just like constant pain, I guess. Every single time I would try, and I tried different grips, I tried hammer grips, everything I did outside of just like a quick slash of a cord, you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna be rubbing up on your index finger. So if the micarta scales had been thicker, less aggressive, and brought down and contoured more, then I wouldn't have even noticed it. But because it's so narrow, it's kind of ramming my finger in there, and it's just not working for me in conjunction with the heavy traction everywhere. Even in a reverse grip, it feels like I'm losing traction on my pinky, and I just don't have the grip I want and the purchase I want because of that guard as well. And then you're pounding into that guard every time you stab, pierce, slash, do whatever you're going to do. So sadly, I'm so sad to report that this is just not an ergonomic knife because of this and the heavy traction. And the heavy traction could have been mitigated with some sandpaper. This area is just kind of unenjoyable to carry. And if you ask me, what do I feel like the reoccurring issue with these mini or compact versions, it is usually on the handle side. The blades, if they're shorter, a little bit thinner, if anything, they're just more capable in finer work and a little bit more concealable. But by shrinking down and shortening up handles and those type of things, ends up really hurting the ergonomics, and I would argue the usability of the tool. And so really if a knife company is going to shrink down a design, they really need to, I think, focus almost more so on how we're going to make the handle still be very functional, very usable, have a good grip, have good ergonomics, but lightening it up, making it more concealable, and thinning out the stock and maybe shortening the blade. So, and in theory, it's just like, it could have worked so well because this is like 240, I think. The full size, I think, is like 325 to 350. So, I mean, you're almost saving yourself $100 with the more compact version and probably more carryable for a lot of people. But it just doesn't work for me. And, you know, A&V Knives hooked me up with this model, but I got to keep it real with you guys. That this is just, the compact version is not the way to go. If you like the idea, go stick with the original, man. It'll cost you more, but it'll be so much more comfortable, so much more capable, and you'll just enjoy using it. Now, if you want something that's in this kind of size range, but more ergonomic and can save you about $100, thankfully, A&V Knives kind of redeems themselves. The newest version of the P200. Now, the older versions were more like outdoorsy. They've kind of crossbred these to be semi-tactical, semi-outdoorsy. The P200, oh my gosh, I have loved EDCing this blade. It is almost identical in size. It's just slightly shorter. It's about 4 inches, whereas this is like 4 1/4 cutting edge. This is going to be, I want to say point, let's just do it right now. You know what? Let's just freaking do it. Let's turn it on real quick here. Okay, we're looking at like 0.136 right there by the spine. 0.15. So you go. So I mean, it's an eighth versus like just over an eighth, almost 5/32 on the M311. The P2 is going to be an eighth. Now this is going to be made out of Sleipner steel. Great steel. I really enjoy that. It's like a semi-stainless, cryo-treated at 58 Rockwell. That seems a little soft. I've just started using it. And when I say soft, just like Sleipner, you could definitely take up to 60 if you wanted to. It means that it'll be easier to resharpen, a little bit more durable. Long-term testing, I will do a separate video on this knife and its bigger brother. I have the P300 coming soon, but this 200, I love carrying it. And the handle ergonomics, you can see how the scale went all the way down. There's nowhere near as heavy a traction. There's this really nice bulge and flare, and then they kind of taper it down. There's lots of color combinations. Feels great in my large size hands, particularly for the type of use of this knife. It just, for whatever reason, the ergos are just right around here are just so much better than the ergos on here. Basically a full flat, almost a full flat grind on this. You know, there's just like the ever so small amount right there of no, you know what? I'm going to say that that's a full flat. I'll say it's a full flat right there. And it will come with a Kydex sheath as well. And in fact, is that the same one? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Exact same style, exact same everything. Polymer, it's like CPVU. Again, the full review will have the full rundown on these scales, but some sort of, it's a polymer scale, but man, they just feel so good. Look at that. And that's like, I think this is $140, guys. Made in Czech Republic, Sleipner steel. Wow. This is the knife. If this handle was on this blade, like, you know, it just would be perfect. For whatever reason, this is just so much better ergonomically for me than the M311 compact, and it would be an easy choice to go with the P200 over the M311 compact. And so, guys, that's my quick breakdown for you. Just want to run that in. It's sad but true, man. Sad but true. The compact just doesn't have what its big brother has, both in capability, but also in ergonomics. And that's where I sit. That's my take. Your miles may vary. I look forward to hearing the comments, your thoughts, particularly if you own the compact. Have you seen the same situation? What's been your experience with either of these? And let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them in the comment section below. Really appreciate you guys taking your time today and hanging out with me. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.